actually gonna build one of simple models for the watch market. Okay. I think now you see demo first. Okay, no worries. We don't have to do too much of things. Okay, then later during the mini case study, you will similar case and this one. Okay, slightly a bit harder. It's okay, but I don't think it's hard to extend into. So yeah, no worries. Okay. So now this is a case. Okay, where even when you go to interview, whether you're joining the competitions, right? The case will be very similar. Just sometimes the assumption can be very different. Okay, but they must be giving you the assumption. Okay, but in real life case, you need to identify all these things. You need to do your own assumptions. So whether your assumption is right or not, okay, I just got one word only, bro, based on common sense. Okay, that's the real answer. Okay, because why? We need to ask ourselves. If you are a business owner, does this make sense to you? Can it achieve or not? So this is definitely the answers. Of course, there will be also another alternative way. It's actually based on historical, because you got a track record. Last time you can hit, now you can also hit. Even your gross margin also, like for example here, they say maintain for 40%. I think in your mini case study, they got a historical case study, historical gross margin. So basically, you can just follow that. Okay. So I think this one is very straightforward. Okay. So just go through first. So basically, it's a watch company. Sorry. It's a distribution of premium watch. Okay. You are required to build a 5 years model. Sorry, this is still old, but it's for case study only. So based on historical data and also assumptions. So here's an assumption given as well. Okay. So you read here, you expect the sales volume increase 3%. Your selling price is 105 and 5% increment throughout the next 5 years. Okay. Your supply is actually the relative only, where margin is only 40%, very straightforward. Okay. But I think in some extent, right, I think gross margin always the client or management will have some specificity because they are the one who setting the margin itself. Okay. Sometimes that might also one thing. Because sometimes right, they set it as a gross margin, okay. But the actual definition of gross margin is very different with the gross margin recorded in the P&L. Because why their gross margin is only marked up based on the raw materials only. Like for example, in this case only watch, right? But not here, in other examples, right? You also got factory overhead, you also got other things that haven't included in the cost of sales line, but sort of under here one. So in that case, probably the actual gross margin is not 40%, it's actually lower, right? Anyway, but this is for simplicity, I just share with you. Okay. Operating expenses is about very straightforward, 3% increment. Taxation 34%, straightforward as well. Working capital also mentioned here already, okay. 30, 10, 45, okay. And change over the next 5 years and will track as 5 years, okay. Maybe someone can think, hey, how come you track this as cleaning house? Yeah, no different actually, okay. Because if you want to be more precise, you can put 360 days in that particular year start. Again, loan being straightforward, but 300,000 per year, 10% interest, and depreciation, also quite straightforward as well. 10 years, 15 years, and also your capex is 50,000 per year. Okay. So let me read the case study on that. Okay.
It goes left and right. The question can let the professor you know yourself. Yeah.
So, as I mentioned, I actually all the assumptions for statistics I already put here up, so I can, well, I just doing it, I can share with you some of the tips accordingly. Okay. So, if you might wondering that what is the color, you see there are a few colors here, right? What's the difference actually? Okay. So, which is something that I can share with you. This is actually regarding the best practice. Okay. So the practice here, so you need to have different formatting for different definition. So in some certain examples, right, I also will put in a way that to put some definition under here. Here is actually for assumption. Like blue font one is actually for historical, something like that. Okay. Okay. Then also, yeah, this one set without any regarding formulas. Okay. Okay. So first thing first, I think for simplicity, I have built all things already for you. I mean all the things, but I didn't fill in anything up. But sometimes you need to put in the things in yourself. Okay. Okay. So, build yourself everything from the scratch. Okay. So sometimes right during your training exercise, right, you can try to build a model yourself accordingly. Sorry. Okay. So yeah. So basically, management expect. Okay, let's start now. So management expect that the volume to increase 3%. So 3%. Okay. And we do later estimate. So once we have the data already, so next we need to dig the models. 1 times 1 plus sorry. Yeah, excuse me, this one right. Sorry. Okay. Sales state is 105. Okay. And across 5%, difference is 5%, alright. Okay, then we need to 1 plus 1. Okay. And here to make it consistent, okay, so we need to put percentage also 5. So normally there's something here. Once you figure it in, you need to link the model together. Okay, here's the totals, so-called the total revenues. Okay, then again doing the same thing as well. How much is the growth? Okay, 8% growth. One tip here, if you assume that your growth rate or maybe same as the previous year, okay, I'm actually doing a back example here. Because why? I put 3% here, right? So why if let's say, like just remember the World Market study again, if I say 3%, I don't want to use 3%, I use 5%. Should I need to use 5%? Like 5 times that? It's a bit excessive, alright? So normally what we do, we just put first all 3%. We just equals that, okay? Equals to reverse that 3%. Okay? Once you have it already. So in that case, maybe the client say, oh no, not 3%, 5%. I just put 5 only. Remaining will be changing together. So here's the tips actually that here also say, I just put that change accordingly together with that. Okay? Okay. And also one thing, if you already in financial modeling, no need to take thanks. I got actually. Okay, so if you already in financial modeling, right, doing the financial models, there's one so-called runs of financials or the financial models for modelers. Is this? A lot of people they will use this only. There's no comma there, right? So yeah, it's really very hard to see. So you always keep that practice, to have this comma in between of thousands, okay, in 1,000 units, which is something very important, okay. Okay, next one is here mentions 40%. So it's 40%. And again, as mentioned, you need to link the model across. Okay. Then 10,000. Sorry, 100,000. And the cost increase 3% inflations and accordingly. Okay. So again, your cost of sales should be equal to your total revenue, right? Okay, sorry, this is gross margin. So it should be 1 minus. Anyone don't know why I need to go 1 minus margin? Sorry? No, why I need to 1 minus margin? Revenue minus 1 minus margin. Correct. So this one is actually cost, right? Or cost. Here I need to do minus that, okay? So here is actually my cost. So margin itself there is 40%, so 60%, right? Yeah. Okay. So same thing for cost of operating cost as well. That one quite straightforward. Sometimes you see, I don't like to use the word lazy, okay? Convenience, okay? Just copy paste. But when you copy paste, right, always keep a habit. Check first. So normally I will always keep a habit. When I copy already, I check the last one, okay, to ensure that everything is the same. Because sometimes, right, this is when errors, more errors will come, But sometimes, remember one case I mentioned, you have 1 billion mentioned, 1 million one. This is all where the error comes from. Only one part goes wrong only. So I always like to keep a habit. When you do one part, you check everything, including numbers, including formulas. Okay, how to check it? Basically very simple. Because here I think we put it into the structure, revenue, cost already, right? Once you do it already, you use the eyeball check also can. You look at the number itself. Does it make sense for you? Does it make sense for you? That kind of number, okay? Then next one. Okay. Next one is here. 30. That 45. Okay. So same thing as well. We can just use equal link to bring everything up. Here is where you can be. Okay. Here is where you can put 36661. Okay. I don't bother. Okay. So again, this one to link together. So here
shouldn't be decreasing, right? Is it?
Here.
Constantly will go up. So.
Okay, next. Okay. Good, just stop. Okay, can you just pull for me? Yeah, so I think Ethan did a very good job because just now I started to see the eyeball check, right? So basically you check whether the number actually makes sense or not, right? Okay. So next one is actually okay. So this one, do you guys remember the formula just now? If no, actually very simple, sir. Okay. So basically, what we are comparing is basically how many days over the years times the key figures. Yes. So for inventory and payables, we are using cost of sales. In receivables, we are using revenue. Okay. Okay, revenue also same.
And the travel receivable
Yeah.
over the number of days.
Correct. Very good. Okay. So this one also same. So normally I will, if you know well, you will know that sometimes where will be the part where goes wrong easily. Okay. So you need to check that. Okay. So normally I think a lot of what I observe, a lot of people actually making mistakes under here. Okay. Under working capital. And just this one. Okay. So here you need to make sure because here especially that a lot of people actually confuse, what is a change in working capital because sometimes it should be minus and plus. So basically for me, very simple. Okay. So in the book, essentially this is where money in your book, not your cash, right? So if your increase in your book means that you put your money into the book, so you can't get any cash. So in that case, should be minus, so your cash is lesser, okay? But here is 261, right? So in bottom, I need to put minus already, right? Because you see under, let's say bottom, let's see this one, I can see. So later I need to put, yeah, okay, I think okay. So just also another key stuff, okay? Just now if you observe that I'm actually tracking one by one, right? So if I want to log one thing, like, okay, so basically I can just put F4 and log it, okay? How you differentiate it? Okay, maybe you can study yourself, okay? This one is actually log for the row one. If you observe, right, see, I put SF4, right? So this is log the whole log together. So if you drag, right, you will drag accordingly, but the still be here. Okay, I need to go to, but I just want to look for a row only. Okay, so this one. So basically later I can drag, and it will be like that, and I just make sure that I pull the right figures only. Okay. Also same. Okay. So again, I mentioned, right? Here actually the net working capital will have some errors you need to take notes of because confusion is always here. Okay, and also here as well. A lot of people like to take total net working capital, not changes in net working capital. Okay, because people already online just forgot just that and the cannot balance. Okay. So now, okay, 50 years, building is 50 years. Other PPP 10 years. Okay. payback, as I mentioned, how much? 50 years, right? Okay. And again, every year's right, 50,000 per year. And you can do accordingly. Okay. Building is the same one. Because this is cost. PPE and you need to plaster. Okay. Okay. So this depreciation is actually the simpler one. Okay. If you observe, if you go and further study, you actually will find a more complex depreciation as well. Because sometimes, right, you have different asset, right? Because here I just everything lump to 10% of it. If you got 3, 4 capex with different depreciations, you need to calculate each other okay? And also with time as well, because sometimes you can't have the so-called depreciation in the when on the year you do that capex, right? So you need to plan on that. Okay, next one is also capex, so-called total repayment. Okay, total repayment. That one quite straightforward. Okay. Then opening also same, you can just link for the previous one. So if you observe, right, when it comes to as a PPE schedules, this is what we call PPE schedules. When it comes to loan schedules, it's always opening and closing one. It applies to a lot of places where you need to take notes that how much is opening and closing, because opening and closing is actually where you mark your balance sheet, your balance sheet. Same thing for here, this one and this one as well. Okay. PPE and also the net book value. So cost of closing is actually the next year opening, and that one basically don't have to explain too much, right? And here, okay. So next one is interest expenses, where I need to highlight a little bit. Okay. In my approach, where I calculate the interest rate is basically based on opening and average of opening and closing. Okay, like this. Okay, there are some way where people just take the interest only. Just take the opening only. So to answer these questions, right, for interest expenses, for this one, okay, where we need to take is actually very simple, okay, conservative basis. What's the difference between these two percent? This one is average between opening and closing, because you don't want to over calculate the interest. Okay, my approach here is conservative basis, where I take a higher amount so that I will calculate interest now. So in a way, I also assume that I only pay back my money at the end of the year, right? So there's no right or wrong line. It's only conservative basis only. There is also another, of course, using the three consistence, if yes and yes, you average using average. But this average or these two don't apply when there's a big jump in terms of the cash flow. Suddenly I increase payback to the 100,000, and suddenly I need to draw down another again. Then this one not applicable. In this one, like for these scenarios, then we need to calculate the drawdown and also the interest for each of the loan and borrowings really like. Okay. So of course simplicity, this one you just keep it on that. Okay. So sometimes like that, every single scenario you will use a different approach for that one. Okay. So once you have mastered it really, you actually can judge it based on your common sense. sorry, tax and profit before tax. Okay, profit before tax actually quite straightforward. We just start from here. Here I already had already. Sometimes right, you don't want to put it this way. You can just link to your income statement also can. Okay, no right or wrong. Okay, next one is taxation. Taxation I mentioned, right? It's only 4% only. 24% only. So you just check accordingly. Yeah? Okay. So see. Okay. Okay, next one. So now we have ad revenue, we have cost already, we have working capital already, and then we have PBT already. And yeah, all the important already. Now our job is actually to connect all the dots together into all three statement models. Okay? So if I said mention three statement model, actually very straightforward. It's what it is. Okay? Revenue income statement, balance sheet, and also cash flow statement. So here very straightforward. You just take the revenue. Here you just take the cost of sales, and we take the cost of sales. Remember to put minus sign. So sometimes you don't have to. It's not compulsory to put minus, but if it's not minus, it's just positive, right? Here you need to minus yourself. Okay, maybe common sense, right? Because sometimes, right? You might be goes wrong somewhere else if you don't. And operating expenses is under here, very straightforward as well. Depreciation, finance cost also quite straightforward. Now is all these also straightforward. Properties, you need to connect to link it to the net book value. Okay. Inventory is this working capital. Okay. You see that what we trying to do just now actually is linked to the item that we want. Okay. We're not just doing for the sake of doing, because later we're gonna link everything together with a bigger picture. Where is cash in the bank? If anyone, where is it? Yes, that's correct. You are right. Okay. But of course, you won't have any figures here until you get together. So, term loan also same. You all together as well. Share cap remain change, no change as well. Retain earning times the profit. Okay. Here back in my one thing, because retain earning you also need to deduct the dividend. Okay. But sometimes you can have a very different rules so can okay, there's no fixed right or wrong. Cash flow statement, okay, follow the profit and tax. Okay. This one also same. So again, here's a lot of people actually make mistake because even they confuse at this part, especially the big shadows. And this one also say 50-50, right? Okay. So opening is here. This one is. Okay. So now we need to check. So which is the most tangible one, is whether it's balanced or not. Okay. Okay, likely. Okay. tips that okay. So why we want to build a three-statement model? I think one of the most important is we want to ensure that actually the balance sheet is balanced. There's no always go wrong. But again, there are a few indicators. Balance sheet right doesn't mean that your model is right 100%. There might be also some stupid minor error here and there causing a difference. Remember the case I showed you just now, 1 billion into 1 million one is also exactly the same thing. Yeah, balance sheet is correct, you know. Then so when the moment that I tell them, okay, actually your case, right, or you put the wrong one is because they just put a simple errors because they were doing the DCF, right? They need to build a plugin inside, so the application inside that. Instead of they put in the net cash flow, they put other bad, this one. So this is where the amount goes wrong, okay? So sometimes it's only show that okay, you are safe on level one, but again you also need to check again that what goes wrong. Then always keep a habit to actually check once you complete one section, so you can minimize error as much as possible. Okay. Okay. Another things happening here, okay, is where what if your balance sheet actually not balanced? Okay. Let me do a simple things. So normally when balance sheet not balanced, okay, except there are some linkage errors. Okay, most of the time happens only when so-called okay, there is a confused between plus and minus. Okay, so normally okay, I always got one piece actually. Here I always put one more also. Okay, so when normally in this case I always divide by 2 first. Okay, I compare over that. You know what's the purpose? Actually, to solve the issue of the conflict between plus and minus, wrong treatment between plus and minus. But just now, right, when I talk to you, I purposely change these figures from plus into minus one. So now you can actually see here, right? This amount is actually same with this amount, right? So normally when there's a so-called unbalance, right? I mean not imbalance and imbalance sheet, right? So this is a tip that I will always use that. Okay? So again, normally when there's a balance sheet errors, always check 2 things. One is plus minus error. Second thing, linkage error. Only these 2 things will cause only. Okay? Under here. Okay? So far you guys have any questions first? Or maybe yeah, you guys have any question want to clarify. Otherwise I think later I can let you guys pass on to do your things so you know that yeah, then you can feel it yourself, right? Okay, I think that's good. Okay, so now, right, before going to the mini case studies, okay, let me share with you some best practice. Okay, you got.
You want to stop?
No. Okay, best practice. Okay, so again, the rule as the rules and the principle again, the rules are again. Yes, correct. Okay, these are different things. Okay. So again, you don't have to keep like just now, right? My model itself, a very clean, simple, easy to understand, right? You don't have to click here, do all long page like that. Okay, then people don't understand. Then yeah, you are sending your things purposely. I do see there are few models. They try to make as complex as possible. Even I also couldn't understand. I mean, after reading for 30 minutes, because they try to be too complicated and a lot of duplication here and there. So this is something we also try to avoid as well. Again, Always start with three statement model as well. This one I think I mentioned again. Balance sheet, income statement, balance sheet, and cash flow statement. Very simple, straightforward, and use that as a base to do or serve your purpose or objective. Okay. So again, I mentioned multiple times this. First thing, the purpose for us to build a model is because we want to meet an objective. We're not building a model for the sake of building. We need to have at least an objective. Okay, why we want to have this objective? We want to do valuations, we want to perform analysis, we want to assess whether this can buy or not, how to use our money. This is objective. Second thing, accurate, fast, robust, and easy to use. Okay, and also debug. What's mean by debug? Okay, is you can find out the error easily, which is exactly what I showed you. I don't want X section, right? I use these other sections to actually verify. Okay, every section I done already. I check one more time. Then its number very different. Okay, like the third one you spot by the third one. It's actually you can see already. You know, this one something goes wrong. Go check on that again. Right. So that one is called easy to debug. Okay. So here there are actually 4 tips actually for our reference. First thing is okay, before we do this, it's basically is like architecture. We want to think first, okay, what are the things we want to do? If for my juniors, if I train them, want to try, right? If there are some advanced classes every week, they come to me and do one, right? Before drawing, before going, I ask them to draw for me in the white piece of paper, What are the things that you think? What are the models you're trying to do first? What are the structures? Okay? So what kind of level is required here? Like for example, who are the builders? You need a full-blown model or you just a quick and dirty one? Like for sometimes, right, I just want to see that based on these numbers, what are the impact if I just plug a 20% growth on it, that kind of thing. Or I just a full-blown model to check everything. Also sometimes it also depends on information because if you are analyzing a listed company, some company big will go right because they dealing with analysts, right? Some small cap company definitely you won't have the transparency as what you got in the big company, right? This is something you need to take note as well. But sometimes when we are performing model for our client, we need to know first before we can ask them, right? We want to know what are the things that we got, only we can ask them for the information, right? And again, you also need to explain to them. Sometimes, you can just draw something first, explain to them that this is what you're trying to achieve. Can you provide us? Because sometimes they will just wondering, why you want this model? Why you need this data? Right? Because it's quite sensitive in some lessons, especially rapidly, right? Okay. Again, also, is that annual models, monthly models, quarter model as well? Okay. It's sometimes a bit odd also. I used to use the 4-month model, 4 month by quarter, how to say that? 4 month a period. So means 1 year got 3 seasons only. Because why I'm actually doing for plantation. 1 year to cut 3 rounds cropping. So yeah, only got I got 5 years actually I got 15 rows that side. Also very proud also, but yeah, this is actually I serve the purpose of what I'm doing right now. Okay. And again, we want to know who are we present to? Is that entrepreneur, analyst, or accountant, or someone who learn Excel, right? So this also will decide how we want to present to them. And again, we'll also keep the formula as simple as possible. And again, when I say simple as possible, right, we don't expect you to actually build all formula together. You'll be calling the working capital that working capital section that I have, right? If you are complex enough, right, you can just jump every formula inside. But I put it clearly, right? 30 is 30. This one like inside this one. then later I add up together already, then later I minus the net working capital and also changing in net working capital. I draw each line together instead of cramming all into one, right? So this is what I'm trying to say. And again, setting the font. Font is important because you try not to confuse people. We don't want to see a rainbow colorful font every single. We just want to fix it only. So the important is okay, your organization color as well. Then later on, then you just keep it consistent. Okay, assumption one is actually yellow. Then you keep it yellow. Okay. Then formula big one formula link one is black. You just keep it black just now. And maybe the assumption given or historical is blue, and you keep blue or green, whatever. Okay. So again, plan the structure itself. Keep it simple, so okay. This one is very straightforward. Okay. Okay. So the model can tell you the story here. Okay. So we need to lay out the story, at each of the section. So imagine recording the model just how much. We got the revenue, we got the cost, we got the working capital, capex, etc., flowing like that. So you can understand and you can do each check as well. Okay. And again, this one output different color as well, right? And we need to organize into different structures. Sometimes, right, you can have different tag accordingly. Okay, maybe later I can try to show you other sample first. Okay, you can do it accordingly because there are some that try to keep everything in one. Output also got one tag also got nothing wrong. It's just that the preference and also application as well. Because some boss like everything in my sheet. Some boss don't, so also depend on preference as well. Okay, again, consistent. Yellow is assumptions. Black form is link side, etc. And again, look be colorful. You always check the formula as well. Okay, then one input for input tag. So you need to make sure that people know which one is actually input. Okay, because especially for entrepreneur. Just now, what I put one is I combine the working file and also for input as well. So you guys can understand. So at the same time, it's not too complex. They can understand as well. So basically, what I tell my client sometimes when I help them to build a model, right? Boss, you just look at the color one, put only. You can't is correct or not. If not correct, then you just change only. Don't touch anything. You can imagine that, right? Okay. So again, you need to have different chapters. Okay. This one easy to check as well. Modular. Okay. This one I think I showed with you as well. Okay. Not hard coded information. This one very important. Okay. A lot of online model you can find is like this. The only okay, wait, sorry, this is 34%. Okay. So if your taxation is 34%, don't put 24% in this. Imagine just now I put 24% important, I link them together. Okay, same thing as well what you need to do. Link that instead of put that. If you put that, basically you're hiding something. Okay, so which is not correct. Okay, so here also keep it visible, don't hide anything. Okay, we are not trying to hide the money from our wife. Okay, no worries. Okay. That's all. Okay, so again, this one done error is something very important. I think I will share with you some tips just now in my earlier in demo, right? So we need to pointing at the errors. So missing some things, right? You need to use the same formula as well. Don't copy paste or what. Always, a lot of people like this always because when we're trying to lock the absolute reference means F4 okay. We always link to the one. So when you use the F4, use the locking function, right? Always remember to check every single function, okay? Because this is where people always have mistake as well. Same thing here also, they're using the wrong formula, but again, my case, right? I won't ask you to use count if, average or what, okay? Just simple sum if, average, that kind of stuff, okay? But sometimes, right, you can also put average if, sometimes, and you click too fast, right? Formula, you click the wrong one, also possible. Okay, and also, most of the function we are using, most advanced one is actually VLOOKUP, sum if, index match, that kind of stuff for me, okay, not too difficult. And always, check using F2. Remember that I always check, right? As a function, okay? Then also careful when dragging, right? Because you saw this one when I drag, right? Especially the combination of these two is always happening, sorry. Okay, because when you lock it, you drag, it's still in the same bar, okay? It's still showing the wrong page, okay? This is always happening. I think 30% of the errors come from these two, okay? Okay, then here, I think Excel right now got more than 1,000 of the formula right now. I mean, from 30, 40 years down the road until now, they got more than 1,000. I don't need to memorize all of that. Even I can't as well. When I need it, I just Google it. There are some unfamiliar or new formulas, right? I just need to know a few of these things. What is mean by VLOOKUP? Now I think of XLOOKUP already, right? If index and sum is on normal loading, remaining we can just Google, but basic one you could have that, okay? And command tree. Okay, this one sometimes, right? Especially important that you are actually a preparer, you are a maker. While you need to provide something for other people to review. This is something very important. Okay. Remember just now I also put when you saw it, right? And the right side actually is actually my comment, right? You can also put like that, also can, or maybe you insert a comment and put inside also can. Okay. Most important that is this is a comment that guide readers or to have more sense to communicate. Okay, easy to understand. Okay. And always for a way to catch error, just now the priority check the balance sheet is one of it, right? And also, and also you can see that thing you can check the model together, okay? And this one, okay, most of the juniors most of the juniors have problem here, okay? Safe, always safe, okay? Someone's shouting, okay? Because okay, okay. So here when say there's also some technique to say, okay. I know a lot of silent guy, okay, like me, I used to be like that also. More latest, suddenly you got changes, latest, minor. Then there are a lot of things. So for me, I always use the tip side. I always use this thing. If for one, B1, B2, B3, B4 also can. Up to you, okay. But we make sure you also have some, format to follow, good like that, which is very necessary. Because you need to make sure 1 year later you come to check back, are you able to recognize each other? Latest you can follow, right? Okay, I think now, right, we can proceed into mini case study already. Okay. I think let's proceed to mini case study first, then later I can share with you some of the tips after your case study, so I can get you guys experience first. You guys can familiar yourselves. Okay. Then wait a second. I think here you got this